principals and our teachers and our school-based leaders are certainly advocating for. In terms of a timeline, I think it's just about when's the best time to do it. Right now, there's back orders of equipment, and so certainly can't move without the resources needed. But overall, it is something that we're thinking about. I'll have more conversations with board commissioners about the same, about the plausibility of moving forward in that direction.
Thank you. Taylor, Channel 5.
How big of an impact do you think this hiring was having on the
Sure. So just in speaking with you last week, we were able to make about 156 offers to bring our vacancy rate to about 399 or so from that 557, 552. And so hiring blitz like this is something that I wanted to do to make available the opportunities that we've been talking about. I've shared very early on in a transparent way that you can have a job. Anybody that wants a job can have one. It may not be the same title and it may not be in the same place, but it is certainly a job that we need to do the work the way that we need to do it in this season for Memphis-Shelby County Schools. And so seeing the hundreds of people who are here, we had nearly 200 to register beforehand. And certainly there are more here today participating in interviews with the opportunity to receive on-the-spot job offers. And so that's what it's about. Looking forward to seeing the smiles on the faces. I've gotten some emails already just sharing thank you for the opportunity. And so that's what it is.
Thank you. Tyler, Channel 3.
No questions, Tyler?
Khalil.
My name is Rihanna Gates from White Station High School, and I'm the intern.
Hello.
On the website, there's an available position for students called multilingual student interpreter. What is the thinking around this position, and will there be more opportunities for students to apply for jobs in Mscs?
I love it. Perfect question. Thank you. For your service as a student intern, one, need to see more of our students in journalism and communications. I think to your direct question about multilingual interpreters for students, we have thousands of students who speak multiple languages. They are bilingual, multilingual. They have a lot to offer the district, and so paying individuals for their service is certainly who we are. I have to remind the team often that we are an employer as well, and so we can make the hires, and students can be our employees. This particular opportunity came in conjunction with our need to meet the higher needs of our multilingual learners. And so for translation purposes, certainly to assist and support our students who are coming into the district, to the city of Memphis, to the state of Tennessee, to the United States of America as they migrate from different spaces, to better support that transition is what this is all about. And so, yes, you can expect to see additional opportunities for our students as we move forward.
Thank you. Rosalind, Fox 13.
Hi, Dr. Fagan. TCAP results were released yesterday, the preliminary results.
Yes.
We know that you have a strategic plan. We can share the plan because we did see a slight improvement. What is your strategic plan to increase those scores?
Sure. So as we think about community schools and what that means to provide the types of supports that are in depth for our schools and our leaders and what they need. Sure, we've seen a little bit of growth that we can acknowledge but aren't excited about, but it is momentum that we look forward to moving forward in as we think about a more strategic approach, a more targeted focus. And so you see our specialized education assistants, we'll continue to have them, but this is what I've shared already, that we will read, write every day in every class on every campus. That is the expectation, that is the bar. Sometimes it's about getting back to the fundamentals, doing the basic things well, and so ensuring that the resources and materials are available. The team is moving there actively every day, ensuring that our schools have just the basics, the books. And certainly in terms of a more focused approach, it's about providing certified teachers. And so you see the hiring blitz here to provide instructional coaches so that we can both elevate and accelerate what we have right now, but also ensuring that we have qualified instructors before our students, because qualified instructors are who we need to bring the level of performance for our students up. But it's also about climate and culture and ensuring that the environment is healthy. And so you see family engagement liaisons, attendance liaisons, and so fully wrapping our schools with the supports that they need is the approach that we believe, and we're fully confident that will work and get us some greater gains on the other side.
Thank you.
What's the latest board consensus on job cuts and restructuring after they put a pause this year?
What's the question?
Repeat your question.
What is the consensus, board consensus, on job cuts and restructuring after they failed college security?
Sure. So the board has done what we've been doing since I arrived, and that's having multiple conversations. I think the opportunity for them to go deeper and gain deeper understanding is what has taken place through this pause here. I remain resolute in what I've put forth and confident that we'll get a budget passed as presented. The board is fully aware that some shifts need to be made. They've had the opportunity to review each personnel's name and department and get a deeper understanding of why this type of change is necessary, and more importantly, why it's necessary now. And so I have not wavered in what I've presented. I have been very transparent about where we are and certainly confident that the supports that are necessary for those personnel who are transitioning, we've been able to provide that as well, as you see here with our first hiring blitz.
Thank you. We have one more intern. Caleb.
Hey there, Caleb.
Actually, that's high school.
I want to know,
From where?
beyond the specific job descriptions, are there any particular qualities or skills you're looking for in your staff that might not be?
Caleb, with the question of the day, I love it. Good question. Great question. Yes, looking for solutions-oriented thinkers, folks who can get us through a window when the door is closed, looking for game changers who are committed to this district, committed to the long haul, and committed to each moment and the work that it takes to move us forward. I'm looking for those who aren't afraid to champion bold ideas, even when you have to take the kicks in the faces that I've taken. This is what it's about. It's about kids. I'm looking for people who like children, who love people, and more importantly, who are passionate about education, the transformative power of the same, and what it means to collaborate and do this work in the most elevated way. Because when I say that we will be an exemplar for the state of Tennessee and we will be a model for the nation, then the individuals, the visionaries, the leaders who want to come along and do the work alongside of us must also believe in the same.
Right. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Payton.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to the June 25th, 2024 Board Business Meeting at Memphis-Shelby County Schools. Chief Worrells, please call the roll.
Commissioner McKissick.
Here.
Commissioner Hewitt-Garcia.
Here, and I am remote.
Commissioner Love.
Here.
Commissioner Coleman. Here. Commissioner Calvo.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Board Chair Green.
Present.
There are 8 members present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum tonight. Tonight's posting of color is presented by the Kingsbury High School Color Guards. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go down, down, down.
Thank you. The question is now on the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments, Superintendent?
Madam Chair, we would like to request that item 1011 be pulled from the consent agenda and that an item be added under request for action for the payment approval for Cognia.
There being no further amendments to the agenda, is there a motion for the approval of the agenda and a second? Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner McKissick. Roll call vote.
Commissioner McKissick.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Love.
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman. Aye. Commissioner Calvo.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Board Chair Green.
Aye.
You have 8 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. We're now on to public comments. In accordance with state statute, the board shall reserve a period for public comment during business and special call meetings. Only those members who have signed up prior to the meeting will be allowed to speak. You must state your name, organization he or she is representing, if any, and subject of your comment before you are permitted to proceed. You may offer objective comments about school operations and programs that concern you, but you are asked to refrain from using names of personnel or names of persons connected with this system. You will not be able to stand and engage in gossip, make defamatory comments, or use abusive language. The chairwoman shall have the authority to terminate the remarks of any individual who is disruptive or does not adhere to board rules. Tonight we have 6 individuals, and you will have 3 minutes each. I will call your names if you will come in this order: Camille Collins, Deborah Atkins, Charles Lampkin, Marcus Randolph.
Ebony, I can't read the last name.
Okay, Miss Ebony M. and Tequila Rucker. Thank you. Please come in that order.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Camille Collins. I am a 28-year veteran with Memphis-Shelby County Schools. I'm proud tonight to represent over 300 teachers, both current and retired teachers from across the county, to bring a message to our superintendent. Within a week, we sold over 300 t-shirts that gave one message to you, and that is, you are who we need now. And now is finally, or let me get it straight, next is finally now. So we want to thank you and just give you all the support for this year.
Hi, I'm Deborah Atkins, and I am speaking as an individual. My address is 3077 Goforth Way, and it's Memphis 38134. And I'm an educator of 26 years, going on 27 years. I've been a teacher, and I've also been a math ISA. I've worked under some many innovative and smart, intelligent leaders, and every teacher should afford that responsibility to have a good leader. And what I see whenever I see Dr. Fagans, and I told her this, I think, a long time ago, is that this is kind of what I've been praying for, because I had hit a loop where I was just distraught, because when you're in the schools every day and you see the children and their needs are so great, you know, unless you're going to the schools, you have no idea what we go through. We're parents, we're nurses, we're teachers, we're just a hugging person, a loving person. We bring them school supplies, we pay out of our pocket. And when Dr. Fagans, whenever I see Dr. Fagans, she's got so much energy and she's so positive, and this is really what our district needs right now. And I've worked on the district side. I've worked as a teacher, and now I'm back in the classroom. And my kids, I know I was ready to leave this year, and they were like, "Oh, Miss Atkins, please don't leave, because, you know, we haven't had a teacher all year." But I have great leaders that have taught me a lot, and I think that we're in the right place. And so, as Dr. Collins said, over 300 teachers bought these shirts, and our closed little teacher group, which many of y'all know about, is closed. They were like, we all support Dr. Fagans, and we're going to do this hashtag, Next is Now. So anytime you see the Next is Now, we're supporting you, Dr. Fagans.
I lost track of time. It happens to the best of us. I'm here to just leave you with something real quick. Galatians 6 and 9. I'm gonna back up.
Your name, please?
Charles Lampkin, 3711 Austin P. Highway, Memphis, Tennessee, 38128. Galatians 6 and 9. Don't get tired of doing good. Stand tall in this tavern. You're doing a fine job. The harvest is coming just around the corner. It's okay. The wind is blowing real tough right now, but they got the right person for the job. Stand tall in that saddle. And watch what the Holy Ghost do for you and the rest of your team. This board, I just believe, has enough intestinal fortitude to rally around you and do what is right. And we'll do what's right collectively as citizens of this Memphis, Tennessee, this great Memphis, Tennessee, for our children. And we'll get it right this time. Every time won't be right, and we'll have some bumps in the road as we get through this. But collectively, if we faint not, we'll do it. And we'll look back and we'll say, "Devil, is that all you had?" We're ready. We're ready for this test. So I applaud your efforts, all of your efforts, for going and sitting at the table and giving the community a seat at the table. Thank you for that. Thank you for recognizing that all of us collectively. Maybe not with degrees or what have you, but with degrees in parenting and degrees in loving each other back to life. So come on, let's get together, let's make it happen, and let's show those folks in Nashville and all over the world that guess what? Two can walk together and be in agreement, 2, 3, 4, 5, hundreds of us. Thank you for your time and your efforts. We appreciate you.
Marcus Randolph.
Marcus Randolph, Memphis, Tennessee, 2797 East Hickory Bluff, 38128. I just like to say I'm glad to see everybody kind of working together this year. One of my #1 calls I get, and I'm up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, is teachers. And they're always asking me, when we gonna get more teachers? I'm like, I'm not the one to ask the school board, but I wish that all of you that's up there right now representing us in our school districts much success, because if you fail, our children fail. And we won't have a school board for my grandchildren later. So I just hope that everybody works together, rallies around each other. We'll deal with the parents so we can send better acting children to school, but you guys work the other side of that. But I think this time, maybe we can all work together to have better schools. And thank you for trying your best to get more teachers in the schools, because the teachers are tired. I get that all the time. We're tired. We're overworked. You know, we're running back and forth getting school supplies. They can't necessarily say anything, but I can. So thank you, and work hard to actually fix some things in the next few years. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ebony Mays, 3546 Cane Ridge Drive, 38109. I'm a parent of 2 children. I work with the Memphis Lift on a board watch meeting, and I've been watching you, Superintendent, with getting literacy under control, back together, and I appreciate it a lot, because my son is in the 6th grade, and he's just now getting on the 4th grade reading level. So I appreciate that a lot as a parent. And my daughter's school, Vision Prep, I just got a text message saying that her class scored the highest on the state test. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you doing what you say you're gonna do when you're gonna do it. And that's all, thank you.
Good evening. Tequila Rucker, 1000 South Cooper. I serve as the political director at Memphis for All. This Thursday, June 27th at 5:30 p.m., Memphis for All, the Equity Alliance, Stand for Children, Black Voters Matters, and the AME Church will be hosting a State of Our Schools Meet the Candidate Forum. We've invited all current candidates that are running for position to represent this school board, as well as House representatives to this event. We'd like to invite you all to come out to learn about the school board candidates that plan to protect and how they plan to protect and strengthen public education as we continue to face statewide efforts to privatize our school. This forum is part of a Public School Strong statewide initiative. And we have mobilized across this state to fight against vouchers, to fight against the different things that are impacting our students daily. And we need people that are going to represent our students to serve us here on this board. We will have food and child care. It will be provided. So again, we're going to be there from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Greer Chapel at 3205 Chelsea Avenue. And I'd like to invite everyone in this room, as well as anyone that can hear my voice, to come out to this event. We are only as strong as we are together as a community when we come together and we make sure we got well-informed individuals that are showing up to vote the right people in position. Now I'm going to speak as an individual. As the former president of the Teachers Union, the United Education Association, Dr. Fagans, I said it the day we interviewed, you were worth it, and I still stand behind it today. To the school board members, you hired her to do a job that has lacked the leadership, guidance, and direction this city needs for over a decade. Support her as she do the job she was sent here to do. Thank you.
The question is now on the approval of the minutes for the following meetings. 6.1, approval of the minutes of the May 28, 2024 business meeting. 6.2, approval of the minutes on the May 7, 2024 special called. 6.3, approval of the minutes of the June 18, 2024 work session. And 6.2, approval of the minutes of the June 11, 2024 special call. Are there any corrections? There being no corrections, do we have a motion to approve these minutes and a second? Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Love, second by Commissioner Johnson. Roll call vote.
Commissioner McKissick?
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia?
Aye.
Commissioner Woods?
Aye.
Commissioner Love?
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Calvo?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams? Board Chair Green?
Aye.
You have 9 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. That motion passes. We are now on to committee reports. 7.1, board chair report. No report tonight. 7.2, academic performance committee report. Our items are on the consent agenda tonight. 7.3, budget, audit, and finance committee. You have a report?
Our items are on the agenda, Chair Green.
Thank you. 7.4, charter school committee report. Do you have a report tonight?
No report, thank you.
7.5, community outreach and engagement committee report.
No report.
7.6, evaluation committee report. No report. 7.7, policy governance and legislative committee report.
The policies are on the agenda.
Thank you. 7.8, procurement committee report.
No report.
7.9, general counsel Lee.
No report this evening, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr. Fagan.
Great evening, everyone. We'll start with TCAP scores were released. According to, this is preliminary data, so just want to emphasize that, released by the Tennessee Department of Education. The percentage of Memphis-Shelby County Schools students who met or exceeded expectations from last year to this year, 2023 to 2024, increased in 8 out of 10 categories. Our elementary students, are we displaying this? This isn't TCAP. Our elementary students improved in all tested categories, showing the greatest improvements in English language arts and math. Students in grades 6 through 8 either held steady or showed modest improvements overall in all tested categories, showing their greatest gain in math. Our middle school students, the ELA scores fell just slightly from 17.2% last year to 17.1%. These students' science and social studies scores did improve. Our high school students boasted a 4% gain in science and also improved in English language arts, showing a 1.4% point increase. Math end of course testing scores are not yet available. So again, I do want to stress that these are preliminary results. Final TCAP scores are expected to be made available to families mid-July. But we do want to recognize some positive momentum as we understand there's still great work to do, and I'm confident that we are headed in that direction. Next, we can clap. I saw a few claps. Next, I'd like to ask those present and listening on our streams to stay tuned for an upcoming series of community meetings, tentative or slated for July 8th, 9th, and 11th at 5:30. We will send this information out after the meeting. This focuses on our vision and mission statements as we seek to bring some sharpened suggestions to our board commissioners at our next retreat to give them the opportunity to set the tone and the direction for the district as we enter a new era, an elevated era of excellence for Memphis-Shelby County Schools. So again, that information will be released to the community. Please come out and contribute. Vision and mission statements are often glossed over and underestimated, but it sets the direction and the trajectory of an organization, and certainly in our case, the district. This past Friday, had the opportunity to go and witness and celebrate 34 of our students who graduated from an intensive Memphis Light, Gas, and Water Automotive and Utility Construction Boot Camp. This was a paid 3-week experience provided by MLGW and Southwest Tennessee Community College, both which are great partners for the district. Students worked in tandem with MLGW employees. They gained some hands-on experiences at Southwest and several MLGW training facilities. This boot camp bridged the gap between education and industry and was a true testament to what our shared vision is of equipping young people with the skills and the knowledge that they need to excel at whatever their next level is of excellence. We would like to recognize all of the students that participated and say job well done to them. We do have 4 students in the audience. I'm looking for them. 4 of our graduates here. There they are. If you would, please come up. Please come up after your name is heard. Jalen Elliott Perry from Whitehaven High School. Nadia Redfield from Cordova High School. Zachary Meyer from Cordova High School. And Timothy Bozeman from Kingsbury High School. Board, if you will join us down for a quick photo. You go down and we'll take a photo and shake some hands. As we think about this evening, as we prepare for board commissioners to vote on our proposed budget, we did host one of a few hiring blitz today called a Next Up to provide the opportunities, the 100s of opportunities that have been sharing and describing. We brought them to real life, and so I wanted to share the outcomes of that so far. Was able to get over and shake some hands and see individuals who had a general excitement about something fresh and a new opportunity, a little angst as they weren't sure quite how this would work and what it would be, but they have received great emails stating, thank you for the opportunity opportunity to be able to go forward and share my skills and really interview for an opportunity for a job that I can do well in. And so we were able to have 114 interviews for internal candidates, 63 interviews for external candidates. We offered 47 or made 47 on-the-spot hires and recommendations for internal candidates, 26 on-the-spot hires and recommendations for external candidates. And for our instructional coaches, counted as internal and external, 75 interviews and 34 on-the-spot hires and recommendations. So that's a total of 252 interviews, and we made 107 on-the-spot hires and recommendations for hire. Just breaking this down just a little bit more to continue in the space of transparency. As I shared, we're moving the resources to our campuses and in our classrooms, and so what that looked like for today was attendance liaisons, dean of students, teachers, other school-based positions such as specialized education assistants, social workers, cafeteria workers, and so we were able to have 114 interviews respectively. In that regard, this slide is not reflecting this particular piece, but we made 47 on-the-spot hires. Here we go, 47 on-the-spot hires, and you see the breakdown accordingly on the slide. Thank you to the team who did a quick turnaround for me and just shared we want to have a next up hiring blitz to provide the opportunity and make it real and give our individuals, our personnel, and general folks who are still interested in the district and want to do the work in this season, as you will hear me continue to say, for Memphis-Shelby County Schools. I think this is evidence that people still want to be involved and still want to be connected to the work. It is good work, it is great work, and it is necessary work, and so we do need you. The next one, we look forward to having it next Tuesday on July 2nd, and so we'll carry it out in the same format. We'll open it up just a little bit more, broaden the positions that will be available. We will still send the email out to the internal candidates that we have promised to take care of and walk through this journey with you hand in hand. I want to say thank you to our talent management team. Whatever is rocky always gets smooth, and so I appreciate you for doing the hard work, for being committed to what this looks like and what it needs to look like. I want to say thank you to the finance and budget team for sitting with me at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night to make sure we get this right as well, because that's what it takes. It takes what it takes. So thank you to everyone who contributed, our FACE representatives and all employees and personnel, our Teachers Association who goes everywhere we go to show up and support to ensure that we are all walking and working in this. And thank you to the board for your support in this opportunity as well, as you remain committed to providing the type of supports that are necessary for our personnel. Finally, I'll close out my report with next level readiness metrics. I shared last month or in committee with commissioners that I would provide an end of the year report. These are the same metrics that we've been reporting out on since April 1st. And so I'll start with our teacher vacancies. We're at 463. That's down from 552, I think, is where we were about a week and a half ago. And so great work is being done. There are 31 offers in addition to the offers that we made today. And so if we put the offers together, then you understand if everyone accepts and they move through the process, then we get our vacancies down to a little closer to just over 300. These are classroom vacancies that I'm speaking of specifically, but overall, our vacancies here. Unlicensed teachers, still the same here in terms of 22.3%. These were our permit teachers that we expressed have reached the third year of that opportunity per the state. You can see that increase there of about 7.6% as compared to last year. And so we have input or included tighter parameters in how we support this particular group of individuals who want to do the work but need some tighter parameters about how to move forward in these 3 years. Our current enrollment, next slide please. Our current enrollment is seated at 104,785, and you can see the breakdown here between non-charter and charter schools. We are receiving a few schools from the ASD, and we'll know a little bit more tomorrow as we await the outcome for 3 more. Our pre-K enrollment, you can see we're down a bit year to year, and so we are certainly committed to doing what is necessary to sharpen our plan and our focus there. Our absence rate, you can see it's increased just a bit over year to year for all students, and then you can see the breakdown there for non-charter and charter schools. Truancy rate, 49% overall, and that's an increase of about 0.9%. Our chronically absent rates, and so I want to be clear, when I say 51%, that's what we're receiving from ASD, and so we generally need to focus on where the highest level, the highest number, percentage, if you will, in terms of the opportunity. If that's about a combined rate of about 30-ish% or so when you put it all together, but you're looking here at the schools that we have right now in our district. Generally, there's a decline of about 1.3% overall, and so we'd like to continue our efforts in that regard, and that's what the purpose of the attendance liaison, truancy liaison, family engagement liaisons as well will serve. Our metrics for K-5, current enrollment, we've increased by 188 students overall, and you can see the breakdown between non-charter and charter schools respectively. Our absence rate, we've decreased it in our K-5 space just by 0.1%, but that 0.1 is a lot. Truancy rate by 0.5% decrease. Chronically absent rate, about 1.3% overall decline here of our students who are missing 10% or more of days in school, and this is again for our students K-5. iReady spring data, you can see a decrease of about 0.6% as we look at our final scores here. In ELA, math, a 0.7% decrease as well. TCAP achievement, looking at the scores that I just shared out in grades 3 through 5 for English language arts, you can just generally see a decline here. And so when we say the work is deep, this is what we mean, and it is reflected respectively as you look at TCAP 3 through 5 ELA, math, and science respectively. For our next level readiness metrics in grades 6 through 8, current enrollment, we've gained about 47 students from year to year. You can see our difference in our non-charter and charter schools, with charter schools gaining about 94 students. Our absence rate increase, and this is the number of students who are not in attendance, and so certainly work for our middle school areas, which we acknowledge we lose a lot of our students, lose them physically, and certainly you can see we lose them in terms of engagement and attendance in our middle grades, and so we are heightening our focus as well across the board. But when I say that, there are some targeted areas that we have to drill down deeply into, and our middle grades is certainly at the top of the list. Our chronic absent rate, you can see it has increased in our middle grades as well. iReady ELA, students who are performing below the 65th percentile, we've decreased that year to year by about 5.8%. Our iReady spring math, below 65th percentile, we've decreased that about 4.2%. PSAT 8, evidence-based reading and writing, increased by 8.7%. These are the percent of students who are below, and so we have great work to be done here. We are looking at better alignment, as we understand the state acknowledges ACT scores, and so we are looking at pre-ACT in terms of aligning that from our middle grades forward, and so looking forward to bringing that to the board in our next committee meeting or our next work session. PSAT 8 in math, you can see 88.4% of our students are below the benchmark for readiness in math from the PSAT. And then our WIDA access for ELLs, we have not received those particular outcomes yet. TCAP ELA for grades 6 through 8, these are the percent of students not proficient in ELA, and so an increase of 1.3%. TCAP achievement in math, you can see a slight decrease, about 0.1% overall. TCAP science, a slight decrease of about a 0.5% of students not proficient. And then our TCAP achievement in social study, about 0.6% from year to year. In high school, our next level readiness metrics, current enrollment, we've gained about 402 students across the board, across all schools. Generally speaking, about 414 of those are coming from non-charter schools, with charter schools losing about 45 students. Our absence rate, again, this is the average percent of students who are not in attendance, and that is increased by about a 0.5% across our high schools. Truancy rate has increased about 1.5% across high schools. Again, these are the percent of students who have 5 or more unexcused absences. And then our chronically absent rate, again, these are the percent of students missing 10% of school days for any reason. And again, these students are enrolled at least half of the year, 50% of the year. That has decreased by about 2.2%. Grades 9 through 11 graduation rate, I've added the off-track. Again, I've shared and expressed that graduation rates are seen and evidenced in off-track rate. And so looking at students entering grade 9 and tracking their progression or lack thereof in grades 9, 10, and 11 is how you can determine quickly and ongoing and consistently what a graduation rate would look like for a respective cohort. And so you can expect to see us reporting out on the on-track or off-track rate. 10.7% of students ended the year. That's about 2,050 of the just over 19,000 students are off track. Off track generally is 2 or more classes, specifically 2 or more core classes, so math, ELA, science, or social studies, or a course that is required for graduation. That is the purpose of doubling our graduation coaches across our high schools. Graduation rate for grade 12, about 0.8% of students still remain. Several of the students are in summer school, and so we will have those rates closer to, the cohort graduation rate is not available yet. Our ACT scores, 85.3% of students did not meet the ACT benchmark of a 21 or higher. That's about a decrease of 1.3% across all schools. Generally speaking, charter schools decreasing the most in terms of the percentage of students not meeting the ACT benchmarks. Our PSAT 9, evidence-based reading and writing, the percentage of students not meeting these benchmark scores about 75.6%. And again, this is an increase, not in the way we'd like to go, of about 6.8% of students not meeting the benchmarks, meaning that's about a 410 score on evidence-based reading and writing that College Board indicates as demonstrating next level readiness. PSAT 9 in math, 89.3% of our students did not meet PSAT benchmarks for math. End of course scores for ELA, 72% of our students are not proficient in ELA. Again, that's a decrease. You've heard me sharing 73%. Now it is at 72%. End of course in math, we have not received those scores just yet, as I shared earlier. End of course in science, 73.8% of our students are not proficient in science. That's a general decrease of about 2.8%. And end of course in social studies, 75.6% of our students are not demonstrating proficiency in social studies. Advanced placement, non-enrollment. Again, this is the percent of students who are not enrolled in an AP course as we think about increasing the number of students who have access to an advanced course and or pathway. 89.9% of our students are not enrolled in an AP course. That's about 27,181 students of 30,000 students. International Baccalaureate, these are our IB program. 99.8% of students are not enrolled in an IB course. We're talking just one course. Dual enrollment, 88.7% of students are not enrolled in a dual enrollment class. When we think about local dual credit non-enrollment, 59% of students are not enrolled in a local dual credit non-enrollment course. And then statewide dual credit, 77.7% of our students are not enrolled in a statewide dual credit non-enrollment. And so when we think about what's at stake, when I say next is now, these are the metrics that go along with that. When I say that we have a lot of work to do, and that work has to take place in our classrooms. Those 552 vacancies in the class, we need to get that down below the 463 now that exist. We need graduation coaches, speech pathologists, social workers. We have great needs, and I know that there are excellent people who are ready to step up and meet the expectation to carry this forward. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you. 9.1. Oh, I'm sorry. Guys, I did not see your lights. Okay, let's go in this order. Commissioner Love, Commissioner Calvo, Commissioner Williams.
Superintendent Fagans, I want to know how many of the classes had substitutes instead of a certified teacher in the tested subjects.
I'll get that to you, Commissioner Love.
Mr. Calvo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good job, Madam Superintendent. We're making progress, and we should celebrate that. Yeah, so pursuant policy number 28, I would like to see some indicators added to that, especially for the next few weeks as we get ready for the beginning of the school year. So 28 for the public is the policy that refers to the dashboard that you just presented, right? So the policy indicates that the superintendent should provide clear indicators that allow the board to see that the priorities are being aligned. So I think there are two big things that I will ask you to speak now, but also to include on those indicators. How are we doing for August the 5th, meaning the first day of school? How do you feel with all the changes? Or are we going to be ready? I know the answer is going to be yes, but as a board member, my job is to hold everybody accountable. So how are we, and I would like to see some data indicators, how are we doing on teachers, on enrollment, on all these things. And the second part is on the personnel issue, as we are experiencing perhaps the biggest realignment for the right reasons. So I'm curious to see in the next few weeks how those vacancies become full-time positions. Where are we lacking? You mentioned coaches that have been hired, deans of students, these positions. How is that coming between now and August the 5th? I'm happy to elaborate if I was not clear.
Yes, sir. So based on what I've presented, Commissioner Calvo, thank you for the question. I think I do need a little clarity. Based on what was presented, what additional information would you like?
Yeah, so, well, you were talking, the slides were not necessarily matching.
Place the slide up, please.
Yeah, but, specifically, I guess the biggest question I have is, how ready are we for first day of school, right? And I know every summer there's a level of uncertainty because we don't know what teachers are coming back. We don't know enrollment is some parents wait until the last minute. But I want your assessment in your own words of, how are you feeling about the beginning of the school year? But I also would like to see on the dashboard on real time in the next few weeks, so board members can, at any time, we can look at, how are we doing? Do we need to pivot? I mean, that's on you, but I need to know how we're doing. And the second part of that is, well, I'll post right there. So that's as far as being ready for first day of school.
Sure. I think with it being June 25th, I feel like probably most superintendents across the country that we are ready to be ready. And we are readying ourselves to be ready. And so that is the purpose of the hiring blitz. Mm-hmm. Day 1 today, day 2 next Tuesday. That is the purpose of creating these additional opportunities, if you will, so that we can be ready to properly support our schools. I think in terms of August 5th, on day 1, my commitment, a very ambitious goal that I set was to have 100% zero vacancies, so 100% of our classroom vacancies to be filled. That was at 552. Today I gave you real-time numbers of 463 vacancies, so we are already down. That does not consider the 157 or so offers that have been made because they can't be counted and counted into or contributing to our vacancies, if you will, until they actually make it through the process. And so general math there will get us from that 463 minus that 150 or so, will get us about 300. We'll do an extra push next week. We still have some individuals that are reaching out after the board prayerfully approves the budget this evening. We can return to providing placements and supporting our employees and personnel that are really, emailing me, and I'd like to be able to allow the team to provide the support in that manner. And so to your question about being ready, respectfully, Commissioner Calbo, I think we were born ready. And so we will be ready for August 5th to lead this district in the way that it needs to be done. And we're doing that work right now. In terms of your question about the dashboard, are you speaking to the metrics here that are represented, or your dashboard 360? We did check the logins for board commissioners. They weren't high, but we can make sure it's updated so that when you want to review the information, you can review it in real time. It is there.
Okay, well, thank you for that reminder. So yes, I think I just don't want to wait until next month to see an update on hires and where we're going with this. I think right now, because you're new to the district, because we are experiencing a lot of important changes, and because we're about to start the school year, I can only speak for myself. I would like to see real-time numbers. I'll commit to logging into the dashboard, but that information needs to be there as well.
It is there.
Real hires is there?
These are real-time numbers, Commissioner.
I'm speaking about how many, for example, instructional coaches have been hired. Is that on the dashboard?
No, we just opened the position instructional coaches today.
That's what I'm
And so the
requesting,
team
sure.
is probably just wrapping up over there now. So I gave you real time today for instructional coaches, but the team can update the dashboard.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You got it?
Commissioner Williams?
Superintendent, I want to be certain that the measures that we are using to determine growth and the lack thereof are aligned to the test. And my question then is iReady, and I hear a lot about iReady. I know it's a measure that measures and get folk ready. Is it actually nationally normed? Do we know, are we the only district using it? And does it marry our curriculum? And finally, after you answer that, I want you to enlighten me on the status of Whitehaven High School, where the power outage denied several students hours of testing time on the Pearson test. Where are we with that, and where will be? Whitehaven High School is one of the highest performing African-American schools in the state of Tennessee. And that school had a power outage during the testing, and there has not been any resolutions as to how we're going to really get an accurate score out of that school. And you might have more knowledge than I do. Would you please share?
Commissioner Williams, I thank you always for your questions. They're very layered. So if I forget one, you're going to help me, right? Okay. I'm going to start with the easier one with iReady, because we talk about this often in our huddles. I know how you feel about iReady. iReady nationally is used in terms of it being aligned to our curriculum here. I think you also asked me a lot about curriculum as well, and I've been very transparent. We have a great opportunity to take a look at our curriculum, and we will have a curriculum audit in the fall through the team, Council of Great City Schools, through the support of the board. We do have them coming in, and they will work with teachers and our team and really take the walk through there. And so that's why you've heard me say that we'll be back to basics this year, reading and writing every day, every class, on every campus, because that we can control while we take a look at our curriculum. So in terms of the alignment, I would have to say that we probably have a great opportunity to do better there. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So to your second question regarding Whitehaven, in terms of the unfortunate experience that the students had, I've spoken with the state commissioner, certainly Dr. Hunter and his community. The community senators have reached out. So in terms of being advocates for what is best or fair in this regard, I don't know that we're able to strike that balance, as I've shared with you. What we did submit in writing is a request for the opportunity to think more about policy as it is currently written, and certainly, or not written, the language that is not there for circumstances like this. And what I shared with the Commissioner Reynolds is that the state has to put into place an alternative assessment for when incidents like this take place. And so that she understood and was in agreement with, and will begin to work on. And I did request that Memphis-Shelby County Schools has a seat at the table with the creation and the formation of the same. And so while we weren't able to allow our students to go back in and to restart the test, retake the test in general, we did choose what I believe is the best of the options provided to us, and that is when those results return, we do have the opportunity to appeal, and we generally understand that the appeal will be honored, and so those exams will not count against the school. And so I think that was the best way forward to strike the best balance that was available.
Thank you.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, and then I believe that you ask, those are your two ask.
Those are my two.
Okay, perfect.
You sure? Thank you, Superintendent. I had a follow-up question to Mrs. Commissioner Love's question. Those students who participated through virtual learning, as we talked about this year, having students in front of those students, I would like to know how many of those students passed the end of the course without having a live teacher in front of them. So you don't have to give it to me tonight, but if you will have it to me in the next 24 hours, I'd just like to know what that number looks like.
Yes, ma'am. As a reminder, we don't have math just yet, but we can provide that to you. I can share that it's not great, which is why we moved to provide, live personnel in there, certified instructors, because as we look across the board, that's where the highest number of substitutes are. Certainly, education assistants for proximity are in our end of course and our tested classes. So I'll provide that data to you. Absent of the math scores, I'll provide it to all commissioners.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Commissioner McKissick and Love.
I just wanted to bring to attention Commissioner Hewitt Garcia. She's virtual and she has a question.
Yes, ma'am. After.
Are you there, Commissioner?
I am.
There you go.
Good time. Hello from Brazil.
Hello.
I wanted to follow up on something Commissioner Calvo asked with the District 360 dashboard. Dr. Fagans, I reached out to you in May about this and also added some suggestions that I'd like to see on the dashboard. And I understood that you were considering a few elements and looking at, how all of our systems communicated with each other. So is District 360 dashboard going to be the way that commissioners should see real-time updates of the next level ready metrics?
Hi, Commissioner Hewitt Garcia. I appreciate the question. And so since you've asked it publicly, I'll answer it publicly. I plan to share this in our huddles individually to ensure that I understood what the majority of the board wanted. As we did review the logins for the Dashboard 360, and you were the singular board commissioner that has logged in since January. And so as that is a heavy lift for the team, wanted to have the conversation with board commissioners to ensure that they were okay with the presentation of the data as we've been providing it, as that would be double work for the team to both upload and update the 360 dashboard, as well as maintaining the commitment to our Power BI data as well. And so continuing that conversation, I'll be able to have that individually with board commissioners as we've been able to do the background there. But in terms of the live data that Commissioner Calvo is requesting, if that data is not reviewed by board commissioners, I certainly want them to be informed. And so that's just a general email and sharing of the same in our individual huddles that we have.
I thank you for that. I appreciate it. I do know what I liked about the dashboard was the ability to see district and school level data to see trends, among the schools that I've been elected to represent, but then also just trying to get a better understanding of the demographics and nuance that may not be in a PowerPoint. I do think if my colleagues knew this was something that was going to be updated ongoing, I know we received a schedule and a phased-in approach for how this would be updated. I would definitely get their suggestions about whether that would be helpful, particularly with my colleagues who have 2 to 3 times the number of schools. Because I do think it's a great way to see the data, but I hear you. I want the team to be working efficiently and effectively. So if we can get that in another way, I trust you. Just keep us updated on how we can be informed. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Always.
Commissioner Love and Commissioner Woods.
Superintendent Fagans, I read data on paper. The schools I am worried about the schools being penalized because we voted for proximity learning and the schools didn't. I am worried about them not being penalized.
Just a little bit of clarity, and yes, like you, I like reading things on hard copy, so you all will receive those packets from your executive services advisors beginning July 1st as we get things in good and decent order, and so you can expect to receive that every Wednesday. But to your question, just for a little clarity, penalized by?
By the low test scores. Proximity, we voted for.
Correct.
Not the teachers.
That's right.
And the data shows that the students didn't do so well.
That's correct.
I don't want the schools getting penalized.
That's right, but penalized by like administrators or penalized by the state? Tell me a little more.
By you.
Why would I penalize them? I'm throwing resources. They are me. I am a teacher first, foremost, and forever. I understand what this word means.
Let me rephrase the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Teachers get fired for their data. Principals get fired for their data. I don't want there to be unprecedented repercussions on the principals or the teachers because their data is low.
I appreciate you bringing that, to the table so I can speak out loud. I don't operate from a punitive stance. I typically just want to get some solutions and how do we, move the work forward and better. Have not had one conversation with a teacher, with a principal, or anyone otherwise about being fired or let go for our results. Generally speaking, I took a look at the data as a candidate, as you know, and gained a great understanding of what we needed to do and how we needed to move forward. And so that's all that I think you've been able to see. It's just resources, support, understanding, listening, feedback, having them at the table to drive many of these decisions as well. And so if they share that I've had a conversation about firing, then let me know.
They are not.
That's right.
I just wanted to be sure that
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mentioned that.
No, ma'am. I think I shared in my interview, you coach up before you coach out. So we got to provide the opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Woods.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent. I thought I would be quiet during the superintendent report. Great report, Superintendent. But I did feel it necessary to at least respond to the data dashboard commentary as I have not logged into the dashboard and I have no plans to log into it because for the last decade, we have been asking for a community-facing dashboard for families to be able to know how schools are doing. Like Ms. Love, I like the paper, and like you, I like having a superintendent who shares those data points during our one-on-one. So I think the right conversation in retreat is not only what should be in that dashboard, but who should have access to it. I think the one presentation we got from the administration with this dashboard, I think that's the only question I had was who else will have access to it, because I don't think it does very much if only the 9 board members sees it, and families don't know what that data says. So I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. 9.1? No, 9.1. All right, so we're going to move on to new board business. 9.1, proposed policy first reading.
There's none for second reading.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Fagan, Commissioners. We have 3 policies for your consideration tonight. The first one is policy number 0018, Board Staff Communications. The recommended revisions are to ensure the accurate, timely, and regular communication between the board, the superintendent, and staff as needed. The next 2 policies are Policy number 4015, acceptable use policy, that's for the employees, as well as 6031, student acceptable use and internet safety. The last two policies comply with the state requirement for us to have a policy regarding the use of artificial intelligence in our schools for instructional and assignment purposes. The first policy is for first reading only. The second two policies are for first reading, but we are requesting that you suspend the rules and adopt policy number 4015 as well as 6031 in order for us to submit the policies to the state as well as the report to the state that's required by law. The requirement date in law states July 1 of each year. So we're on a tight time frame with those two.
For 4015 and 6031?
4015 and 6031.
Okay, I think Commissioner Cavill had a question. I think it's on 0018. He's trying to get clarification from a parliamentarian. So, no question?
So the motion is to suspend the policy and adopt 6031 and 4015.
Okay, so the motion is to suspend the policy.
Suspend the rules?
Yes, suspend the rules and adopt 4015 and 6031.
Yep.
So
we
moved.
need-
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Commissioner
Oh,
McKissick.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Love has a question.
Not on those.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner McKissick.
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Woods.
Aye.
Commissioner Love.
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Calvo.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. Board Chair Green.
Aye.
You have 9 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. Those policies are adopted.
Yes, you better. I heard it.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So now we're on to the consent agenda. And we have no items to be removed. Is that correct, Superintendent Fagans? I think your original question we answered.
We just pulled 1011 and removed it from the consent and added it to the request for action.
It doesn't even appear on ours. Our numbers are different, but it's in the right place now.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good deal.
Commissioner Love, do you need to ask your question now? You'll wait? Okay, all right. Thank you. So we're now on to the consent agenda. 10.1, contract renewal, the after-school reporting center, $320,000. 10.2, contract approval, Power School Master Service Agreement, $2,278.16. 10.3, contract approval, PCG Ed Plan, $419,971.68. 10.4, Pearson's Assessment, $185,960. 10.5, iReady, $2,853,132.04. 10.6, grant acceptance.
Chair Green, I
Yes,
hate to interrupt you, but our paperwork is all off from what you're reading.
Yeah.
We're not getting,
The numbers are
Board
different.
Member McKissick's face said it all. I was like, I don't have this. So if we look puzzled, it's because we don't have half of what you're
So
saying.
I think a parliamentarian and I'm not sure about superintendent.
Yeah, all the numbers.
All of our reports are wrong
So just read, okay, all right.
from that. Just read from that.
Just read the content. Thank you, Board Member Woods. Thank you, and I appreciate that. Approval, teacher tenure status change, no dollar amount.
It's at the bottom of the previous page.
Okay, grant acceptance, curriculum association for elevation platform, $291,398.76. Grant acceptance, Project Lead the Way grant for Hickory Ridge Middle School, $30,000. I did. ASD school returning to MSCS, dollar amount, no cost. Grant acceptance Shrine School, dollar amount, no cost. Christian Brothers University professional service agreement, $737,740. Rapture Technology for cloud-based vendor management system, $138,845. Cyber Technology piggyback agreement for safety and security upgrades, $522,940.78. Granger Incorporation for conveyor belts and belt barriers, $247,213.20. Education Solution Development for Apex, $1,100,000. KEV Group for School Accounting System, $123,018.09. Education Network of America for Voice, Internet, Cloud, and Network Service, $2,414,907.12. CDW Government Incorporation for Wireless Access Point License, $409,143.40. Thomas Consultant, Ari Jones and CDW for Fairleigh High School, Trezevant High School, Humes Middle School, computer purchase, no cost. Martin and White Mechanicals Incorporation for Airways Middle School cooling tower replacement, $310,576. A&B Construction for East High School bathroom renovations, $300,178.50. Waste Connections of Tennessee for waste collection service, $425,000. Republic Service for waste collection, $800,000. Federal Equipment Dealers Incorporation for convention gas steamers, $114,000. Federal Equipment Dealer for CNC freezer door installation, $164,289. Power School Group, $986,800. Mace lease renewal of Northwest Prep, $295,247. Journey Community School lease for Coleman Elementary, $152,269. Fraser Community School lease of Westside Middle School, $272,796. Cooperative Master Agreement approval, no cost. Agreement to administer the school lunch program, no cost. June 2024 budget amendment, $2,145,475,256. Contract amendment A2H for NFHS design service, $1,953,488.78. ESEA consolidating funding application, no cost. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda? Thank you. Motion by Commissioner McKissick. Thank you. Second by Frank Johnson. Roll call vote.
Commissioner McKissick.
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Woods.
Aye.
Commissioner Love.
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman. Commissioner Calvo.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams. Board Chair Green.
Aye.
You have 9 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. The consent agenda passes. Now we're on the budget amendment. I think you wanted to talk about that, Superintendent Fagan. for Cognia. That is, I know it's all over there.
I know who put the paperwork together for this meeting.
She'll take care of it in my office.
That's yours, 1011.
1011 on this sheet.
Commissioners, so what this is the original item that was brought. It needs to be a payment, and then we bring the contract renewal separately next month for $250,000. So this is just the request for payment of the $1 million to Cognia for the outcomes that they achieved for our schools for the work performed. And so again, this was removed from consent because it is a request for payment. And then we will bring the contract itself for renewal for Cognia for $250,000 for next month.
I do want to get the motion on the floor for approval, and then I do have a question as well.
So a motion and a second.
And a second by Commissioner Love. Thank you.
Go back to
Go back to Commissioner Woods for your question.
Thank you. Obviously, we heard from Ms. Love the positives from this contract. Just curious if it's a performance-based contract, and should we anticipate, assuming that they do well, this type of payout at the end of the contract in future years? Just wondering how it goes from $250,000 for renewal then to $1 million at the end of the agreement.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods. So
I think so. Yeah.
I was just trying to make sure it's on. So this is actually a law that's in place. So when we received a turnaround pilot grant for exit with these priority schools, we did a contract with the state for Cognia. The contract is a 3-year contract. This is year 2. Next year is the final year of $250,000 for payment. Within the law says that if and when inside of these years that Cognia exits Hawkins Mill and Tresman, then they're to be awarded $1 million. So it's all in the master service agreements, and it's a part of the law. So we actually receive these funds directly from the state, and it's really a pass-through. They're sending it to us, and we're passing it directly to Cognia in the form of a payment for exiting these schools.
Thank you. So you did use the word law a couple of times. So was this legislatively passed, or the Department of Ed just approved an MOU?
Now I'll need legal to kind of opine on that.
It's fine, but I was just wondering if the entire Senate and House
law that
came together for one vendor.
Yeah.
Which is not unusual. I'm just curious if this would happen.
It's actually just the state. It's
the state, okay.
Yes.
All right, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Commissioner Love.
We don't want Ms. Love to think we're breaking the law by not renewing this contract.
Based on what Tito said, the administration has exactly 1 year to duplicate this. I don't want the data lost when Cognia goes away, because they are doing great work along with the iZone. The teachers are doing great work. I don't want it lost when Cognia goes away.
Yes, ma'am. I look forward to you voting to approve the budget so that we can ensure that takes place.
Those commercials, I tell you. Is it roll call vote?
Commissioner McKissick? Aye. Commissioner Hewitt Garcia?
Aye.
Commissioner Woods?
Aye.
Commissioner Love? Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Calvo?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Board Chair Green?
Aye.
You have 9 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. That motion passes. Board meeting schedule, 2024-2025 board meeting schedule. I think, Ms. Love, you had a question.
Are we getting rid of the community, the committee meetings?
So in our conversations, we generally thought it best to have those conversations amongst co-chairs so that when you have your board work sessions, that you can facilitate that healthy dialogue. And I could answer questions and the team could answer questions, provide the presentations necessary to the board to kind of strengthen the evening and maximize our time. So during what would have been the committee meetings, that's when we would have our huddles in terms of co-chairs or chairs of the respective committees to iron out, walk through what's going to be on the agenda, get your questions from there, and then when you arrive at the board work session, you can have a substantive dialogue.
Because I was thinking if we get rid of committee meetings, the second and fourth Tuesday would be our dates.
Oh, you want the dates to change? We can do that.
If it's okay with the board.
If it is the will of the board.
Yeah. I would send it back to committee to have a full discussion before we vote on it.
The committees that we no longer have?
This is to be effective July.
And I mean,
but we can adjust the dates if that's what you're
adjustment
asking.
so that we would have time in between the weeks to meet with
work session on the second week and
break,
a board
and then
business meeting on the fourth week.
Whatever the will of the board would be.
I think our concern with that is sometimes the information, and certainly when it comes to budget, the number crunching, is that correct? From what I recall in the past when we've had something similar?
So, Ms. McKissick, Commissioner McKissick, great thinking, but we could adjust depending on the will of the board. So as far as the financials go, the financials at the month end, it takes about a week or so to get them ready and vetted to be able to present out numbers. So if we were to move it up, what it would mean is that we would be lagging a month for the financials to be presented. Now, per TCA code, we only have to do financials quarterly, but we like to be transparent and do them monthly when allowed.
If I may, Board Chair, that is concern with a district of this size, we've been more stringent on contracts coming before us in real time. We've reduced the amount of which contracts can be approved. I'm just concerned. I understand Commissioner Love, that week between and how it has its benefits, but I think that is I'm uncomfortable with being a month behind with financials and getting that report. So that's just.
So to leave it as scheduled? I just want to make sure we're clear.
That is why, because I remember when we attempted to do this, in the past, and it just did not work out very well. It was, we missed some contracts. So I'm proposing to leave it as proposed.
Okay, Commissioner Calvo?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say if we can table this to the next work session and let the next board chair and vice chair and the next board members decide how they want to do. Or what is the urgency on setting the schedule so early on in the year?
We're checking the policy, but if I'm not mistaken, it has to be approved in June. But we are checking the policy. If I'm not mistaken, the dates have to be approved now for the next year. Our fiscal year begins July 1, which is Monday.
Or the 14,000 employees that may want to attend a board meeting.
Absolutely.
Be aware you'd have to change policy. You have a policy statement that says 1 week, but that's easily done.
Okay, so is there a motion on the floor to approve as is?
I have a motion. I'm motioning to approve as is.
I second.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Commissioner McKissick?
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt Garcia?
Aye.
Commissioner Woods?
Aye.
Commissioner Love?
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Calvo?
Abstain.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Board Chair Green?
Aye.
You have eight votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. This motion passes. 11.2, resolution opposing Memphis Wrecking Company landfill expansion. Superintendent? Oh.
I want to make a motion. Michelle, you were not here last week. You want to sign on this?
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Motion by.
And I did hear the principal yesterday send us all an email. The landfill owner is going on her property in a truck. I sent the email to Michael and Easter Thomas, and Superintendent Fagans and the board was included on it. Motion.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Roll call vote.
Commissioner McKissick,
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt-Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Woods,
Aye.
Commissioner Love,
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Calvo,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Board Chair Green.
Aye.
You have 9 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. That motion passes. If there is no other business before this body, we have about 5 minutes before a special call meeting. Thank you. Enjoy this time. 5 minutes.
Well, it's a good time.
It's gonna be y'all's problem.
The roll.
Commissioner McKissick,
Present.
Commissioner Hewitt Garcia,
Here and still remote.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Calvo,
Present.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Johnson, Board Chair Green.
Present.
You have 8 members present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum present. The purpose of the meeting is request for action for personnel transactions and FY 2025 budget approval. Thank you. Board Member Love is present. Thank you. So let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. To the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public comments, and before Mr. Woods retire, we will allow him one night to lead the pledge. Help me remember, Commissioner McKissick. Tonight we have a total of 4 people, and you have 3 minutes each. Well, 3 people. Thank you. I see a cut back there.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, and that's 4.
Marcus Randolph, Samantha Hunt, and then our Cornerstone Prep group. Come in that order. Is Mr. Marcus Randolph present? All right, we will. Samantha Hunt, you may come forward.
Good evening, and thank you for permission to speak, Superintendent and board members. So my concern is not punitive at all in nature. In fact, it's actually professional. And I believe that accountability scales are not balanced in that this data at the board level continues to resurface, and there seemingly is little to no resolve. Yet the biggest response is directed towards teachers, a sector that has very little voice and a lot of responsibility. So teachers are at the front line of everything from curriculum, grading, lesson execution, planning, integrating technology, intervention, reteaching, small groups, instructional tasks, non-instructional tasks. We are all things the student, but most importantly, learning. And I said that to say that I wonder, I rarely ever hear about audits happening for principals or assistant principals that challenge their credibility, their reliability. But this response severely displaces us, and we are, tackling all of the day-to-day responsibility as it relates to the student population. So it's a little disturbing for me, and I just wanted you guys to acknowledge that it severely displaces us as professionals, and I don't mean that punitively, but professionally, and it doesn't seem really fair, to say the least. So, thank you.
Cornerstone Prep Group. Please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Williams. I represent Cornerstone Prep and Lester Prep. Thank you for the opportunity tonight to speak. We come before you asking you all to consider for Lester to be bought. We've been in the community for 11 years. We have about 400 signatures from parents, from community members who support Lester staying in the community. And we just come to you. We had about 15 people here tonight. They all had to leave. There are 4 of us still here. But again, we thank you for the opportunity to speak. And we're just asking if you all would consider, please consider letting us stay in the community. It's a staple school. It has been there. We have proven results. We have level 5 achievement in the schools, both Cornerstone Prep Lester and Lester Prep. And so again, we just ask you all to consider letting us stay. Amen.
Yes, ma'am. 320 Carpenter, Memphis, Tennessee, 38112?
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I taught there 8 years. I just happened to memorize the address.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. Thank you.
I did it. So we're moving on to requests for action items. Commissioner Calvo, I see your light is on.
Madam Chair, I would like to request if we can flip the order so we move this 6.2 to the 6.1 and then so have the budget conversation first, followed by the personnel transactions.
Yes, sir. Duly noted, and it's done.
Thank you.
As long as we don't have any objection, I don't see any lights on, so. So we'll start with FY25 budget approval.
Board Commissioners, it's recommended that the Shelby County Board of Education approves the fiscal year 2025 budget as presented.
Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, I'll make a motion to get the budget on the floor prior to conversation.
Second. Okay, second, and so we will now open up for questions.
Well, not seeing any questions, Madam Chair.
We had, I think you're still missing, sir, excuse me, 2 of your colleagues. I'm not sure that they realized that the meeting started, but we still have a quorum. Are there questions about the budget? So if you have questions, I think now is the time for you all to ask your questions. That's what Mr. Woods is saying.
Madam Chair, just that having attended numerous meetings now regarding the budget and the board retreat, the budget retreat, so my questions have been answered during the course of those meetings. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Calvo. Yes, you, Commissioner Calvo, Commissioner Love.
Commissioner Hewitt Garcia has a question.
Okay.
That's why I
So let's start with Commissioner Garcia, who I have on the screen.
Great, thank you. I don't have the access to our materials. For some reason, it's being blocked, so I can't see the presentation that you have on the screen. And I know I relayed a couple of questions that are outstanding earlier this week. The first one is, can you, Dr. Fagans, clarify? I know I asked this in the community budget meeting, and I've asked this one-on-one, and that you were working with our finance team for numbers. What does the current budget that we're voting on tonight reflect years of service for instructional positions for individuals returning to the classroom, either through elimination of position or willingly? And if so, what was that cost?
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt-Garcia, for the question. The answer that I've shared is no. And today, the answer remains no, it does not. Those individuals will land where current teachers in the classroom land, and that is on the current salary schedule that all teachers are aligned with by degree and years of experience, and that we generally propose to expand to add those last three levels or steps to honor years of experience.
So their experience in an instructional role is not reflected when they return to a classroom?
Their experience at central office, I believe, was your question, specifically regarding maybe an instructional advisor or anything in that regard, is not in this current budget, as we would have to go back and align that with any person in a classroom right now who has gone back into the classroom from a position in central office, and the district at this current date does not have the capacity to perform that level of analysis to ensure that we are honoring the same request for all individuals who are in the classroom prior to my arrival here and prior to the proposed transitions that are before you this evening.
I hear the need to do it retroactive. I would also just encourage us to think about, I know honoring the years of service one-to-one, that's a fixed cost over time, but individuals particularly who are recently going back into the classroom after the call for moving resources back to schools, getting all of our classrooms with a highly qualified teacher on day one, I think it's in the right signal to honor the expertise they've had in coaching teachers, principals, managing our curriculum. So even if that is a bonus structure for people who are coming back to the classroom to ease that, what is often, for many of them, going to be a pay cut, would be my recommendation in our first budget amendment opportunity.
I think that, and of course, it's the will of the majority of the board, but to speak to your statement there, in terms of bonuses and things of that nature, I want to clear up any misconceptions that individuals who have honored the privilege, if you will, to be in the classroom this year, to carry out the work the way that we would need it to be done in this season for the district. Generally, many of them received an increase because the teacher's salary has proven to be elevated. Certainly, we are still in progress and will continue to work on increases along the way. But many individuals experienced, and I shared this with you as we reviewed the list, an increase in salary. And so the deductions or the mass decreases come from those individuals who do not have a certification or a licensure, and therefore could not be honored, if you will, with a direct placement in the classroom or as an administrator. And so that would be the discrepancy, if you will, with folks who were making, $100,000 or something like that. They generally did see a decline of about $15,000 to $20,000, simply because they are not licensed or certified teachers or administrators. And so that would be where the disparate view, if you will, when we look at salary deductions, as I've looked at it by $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 to $15,000, and then we had an anomaly, an outlier that was a little more than that. And I mean, respectfully, that individual was just making more than they probably should have been in the role that they were serving in. So overall, looking at the average salary increases and decreases and looking at where those were seated, many individuals experienced an increase by way of returning to the classroom.
Well, great. Then I think honoring those who may have seen a decrease should not be a large fiscal burden, but I do understand that it takes analysis. I hear everything that you've shared. I just want to keep reiterating to my colleagues and to you that this is important to me, and I'd love for us to prioritize doing that work and figuring out what that would look like.
Commissioner Woods, then
Yes, Madam Superintendent, Madam Chair, the fact that Commissioner Garcia is not here to, I still was able to hear her point clearly in her consistent advocacy for those teachers that are moving from central office. If it would, not in the form of a motion, Ms. Garcia, if this is a recommendation that I believe that you'll continue to fight for vigorously, that we could look at, in the words of Superintendent Fagan, on the other side, I would hate for us to go through this, while it may not be a huge financial lift, and I want to be clear, I'm supportive of your recommendation, but I'm mostly mindful of the administrative lift. When right now, as you heard in the beginning presentation, the hiring and onboarding of new talent, the preparation of starting school, and the potential impact that those moving from central office, the real possibility they may not show up on day one. I would like to look at this as a board function to advise the superintendent with a fully staffed HR team to look into this, analyze the data, and see what the impact would be on the backside of this, and then making that budget amendment as opposed to taking it up today, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, and thank you, Commissioner Woods. I think what may have been lost in the middle of my advocacy there was that it is my recommendation that we make it a priority in our next budget amendment process.
Thank you.
So, yep, thank you for that.
Thank you. Commissioner.
So, Dr. Figgins, you said that the district simply doesn't have the capacity to do this, and I don't agree that teachers should be penalized because we simply don't have the capacity. That is not their fault. But to the point of getting ready for the first day of school, this is something that will incentivize people to actually take some of those jobs that we're desperately trying to send back to the schools. If we are telling somebody who has been in central office to consider reapplying in Mscs to go back to the classroom, and we say that this is going to be a budget amendment down the road on the other side, some teachers, some people who are not currently teachers may not, that could be the breaking point where they may say, like, I'm just going to go and apply to another district.
So again, to keep this in context, I agree and fully support with honoring total experience. We don't have the capacity to do that in this moment, at this moment that it is being requested. And so that is what I'm sharing. The state honors and acknowledges experience, and the district goes by what is loaded in TN Compass. And so it is not what we are making up, it is what the state recognizes as experience. And so that is what determines steps as the talent management team reviews. It is not Dr. Fagan's reviewing and determining whether I would like to pay someone or not. It is a decision overall that can be made if we can collectively throw our resources at this to do it well, to honor that. So it sits with the authority of the superintendent, if you will, to make the decision. What I'm sharing is that I can't prioritize the team to do that work in addition to ensuring that we are smooth along the way, as well as we have a compensation analysis that I've shared with the board that is also forthcoming. And so that would all come in part simultaneously. The work has to be done in a more cohesive way, and this is asking us to do it in a very disjointed and unorganized way. And so I want to be clear, because this is twofold. It is not a disagreement with paying individuals for their time. I have experience outside of education, and I have experience not being paid for total experience, so I understand that. What I am sharing that is on June 25th, to be able to turn this effective for July 1st or August 5th or any time sooner than that, before this year or in this year, is just not practical. And so from your lens, I hear you, but from the lens of the superintendent in the seat of reviewing all parts that are moving, it is not a feasible task to take on at this time.
Do we know about how much time it would take us to do that? I mean, is it because then if a person is considering going back to the classroom, we don't want to make a false promise, but I think we need to say, is this something that is going to take 6 months, 3 months, a year?
I think that what we're advocating for is overall, but it is coming on the heels of about 20-something people, if you will, and no disrespect to them, they matter, but we're not talking about the majority of even just those impacted by this transition, much less the larger group of nearly 14,000 employees that we would have to go back and honor that, or else the email inbox will be overloaded, and I won't be able to respond to those because people understand what they should be making. They know how many years of experience that they have. They know what they are making right now, and if we say that we're going to go and honor total experience for everyone across the district, we don't have the capacity to do that, then respectfully, sir, that's not something that I would like to prioritize for the team who's worked 24/7 just to ensure that the individuals who will be impacted if they do not accept a placement or an offer that is on the table, to ensure that they don't receive a gap in pay and compensation, that their benefits run through August 31st, and generally we can lower the angst that many are experiencing in this current moment.
Commissioner Love.
I am very concerned about family and community engagement and the homeless department. I noticed in the budget book you cut that department in half. Some are going back to the schools. I understand that. But I am very concerned about the Family and Community Engagement Department because they do great work in and around our district.
So thank you for that statement, Commissioner Love. In terms of cutting family and community engagement, that's not cut. What we did pull out of it is partnerships to give a more targeted focus on the lift and to honor the general excitement and desire from thousands of business folks who want to be involved and connected with the district. So to strengthen our partnership work, and congratulations to Dr. Phillips, who will head that department, that team. It is incredible work that I'm excited about, and being very intentional about lifting as we think about moving to launching our own capital campaign, and certainly honoring the ambitious goal of ensuring that every one of our nearly 200 schools has at least one business partner. So that's that work, right? Carve that out. We have 2 grant advisors, writer positions, so that we can be more assertive and aggressive about obtaining grants to bring about what we need for the district, and all of that will be headed by Dr. Phillips in that department. I also pulled out of that student experience so that we can give a greater focus to our houselessness populations, our students who are migrating from different countries and spaces, so that we can give a greater focus to leadership and student engagement and involvement. And so that, I'm proud to share that Dr. Luster will lead that department in that focused area of work.
So
I'm not finished. And then we have the Office of Family Engagement, which will be dedicated to our families. And so that's where you see the nearly 100 family engagement liaisons that will be across the district, still dedicated, targeted work to support our families in a more focused, but a more wrapped around support. And so happy to share that that particular piece of FACE will be led by Ms. Rosalind Stevenson.
So you just remodeled it. You didn't just...
That's a healthy word. That's a very healthy word. I would not cut, I cannot advocate for better support and resources for our families and then cut a department like that. And so I certainly understand the benefits, but I also understand that we have an opportunity to heighten the way that we focus the work. And so splitting it like that allows us to do it in a very dedicated way, and I think you'll see great work on the other side.
The next question I have is about the homelessness. There are 3,000
and growing.
Growing.
Yes, ma'am.
Students.
Yes, ma'am.
In Shelby County schools. And the mayor, city council is proposing a tax increase, and that is going to make more folks homeless. I just want to know that there is a plan and feel confident that the people in homeless are supported and they can do their jobs effectively.
Yes, ma'am. You have, generally I share with the team, I trust people until they give me reason not to. And so that would be the same thing I ask of you. I certainly understand our population and the needs that they have. That's still dedicated work that is carved out. I've committed to the chair to do deeper work about reaching out directly to the individuals who lead that work, just to ensure that, who we have is who we have. I've already made some changes, a few changes from the list just based on needs. And so, this is just a transaction, if you will, for this evening. It does not mean that I cannot undo, for lack of better words, shift, for lack of better words as well, where we need personnel.
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
The athletics department. I noticed that you are going to require every student to be involved in a after-school activity.
So the expectation, to be clear there, before everybody starts emailing me, hold tight on the emails. The expectation will be for every student to be involved in something. Get involved in something in your schools. Sometimes they happen after school, but there are several things that happen during the school. So the general expectation here is to be engaged. After school is when many of the activities happen. Athletics is one of those, but we also have chess team and debate team and robotics. And so it is about being involved in fine arts. Just want to see every student involved in at least one activity. So not just athletics, but in addition to, and always as a principal and as a professional school counselor, placed upon the athletes to be involved in one additional activity that was not a sport. So just want to be clear about that.
Final question.
Final?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Last question. I'm a preacher now. The busing services for the after school.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to be clear. For those students that ride the bus, the activity bus is going to take them home.
For students who ride the bus, just general, to go home?
Students who ride the bus to school and after school.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to make it clear.
Oh, so just to be clear, we're not leaving anybody. You don't have to wait for the late bus to go home. The general routes will run as normal, and then we add the late bus.
That is not what I'm saying. My daughter attends Craigmont High School, and I drop her off every day.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Would she be included in that number?
It's available to any student. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
It's available to any student. It doesn't matter if you ride to school, if someone's dropping you off, it's available to any student for that school. If they stay after school and because you dropped her off that morning, if you can't come get her in the evening, if she stays after school for an activity, she gets on the activity bus, as you all have been calling it, or the late bus, but the bus that runs that additional evening route. That is definitely accessible to her and any student. Yeah, you don't have to be a bus rider, for lack of better words, to take advantage of the opportunity. We want all of our students for that very reason. You may be able to drop her off in the morning, but you may not be able to come back and get her in the evening, but she wants to stay after school to dance, as she does, and she can ride the late bus. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You got it.
Commissioner Williams, turn your mic on, please.
The concern that I have is that many of these teachers who are in these positions that you are reducing to the classroom are coaches, or they are LDs, or they are instructional leaders, and their position requires a licensure of this state. And they are, for the most part, tenured, and they have certain rights that go with that. And those rights protect their salaries. So how can they not come back to a teaching position and get the experience for having had a license, as they were required to have in that position, by the state, accrued tenure, as they have, and all of them would have that, and not be able to exercise their tenure rights? which would move them on the salary schedule.
So they would land wherever they land on the salary schedule? That's what we would
With their
honor.
tenure rights, they would land where their years of experience land them on the salary schedule.
Right, whatever the state honors. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's what you intend to do?
Whatever the state honors in TN Compass, that is exactly what we honor.
Okay.
That's what I was expressing earlier. Maybe it was muddy, but just to be clear, it is in TN Compass, the state's website, what they honor and what they have. Sometimes it's a little incorrect, but that is what we follow.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
On that,
Yes, sir.
I thought that's not what you said. You said that it will take a burden to the STEAM to have those numbers figured out. But you're right, the state does indicate, it indicates for every teacher where they are.
The state doesn't automatically add like central office experience. That's what Commissioner Williams is sharing, to make sure that we are honoring wherever the teacher was in terms of tenure, making sure that we honor their years of experience. What I'm sharing is years of experience is determined by the state and what is loaded in TN Compass, not by the district. So if they honor their full years of experience, including central office, which is not generally the case, then that's what we honor. I'm sharing that if we have to go in and you say that you have 16 years of experience, but you only have 7 years in the classroom, if TN Compass says 7, then you fall wherever 7 years of experience is. But tenure, we honor tenure.
If they had a position that required a license, it would be counted. If they were in a position, you're saying the state will count anything that they had to have by licensure of the state to have it to be in that position, because they could not have had it without the certification, which gives them the. So I understand what you're saying. You're going to count what the state counts.
That's correct.
Okay.
And thank you. I provided Superintendent with those policies from the state. Amen. Just to make sure that we were crystal clear on what the state says must happen with teachers when they're tenure, regardless of where they may have spent the last few years. Commissioner Calvo?
Yeah, thank you. I do have a couple of other questions. I understand that a lot of the positions that are going into the school, and I fully support that. Can you elaborate about the plans for enrollment staff that deals with populations that are not, people like me, whose English is not their first language? So that office of enrollment for people who are English language learner, where are those positions living?
They're in the Office of Student Experience with Dr. Luster, and specifically speaking to our multilingual learners, bilingual learners, that is where that is housed to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our students. Certainly, we will continue to have, translators and things of that nature at general events and out in the public, but where it is housed and seated in terms of where the work will be pushed from is in the Office of Student Experience.
Has the size of that department, is it the same thing as remodeling? Is it just moving, or is the number of people available to do that work is still the same, similar?
So generally speaking, there were only 3. So before I arrived, we didn't have enough. And so the commitment here is to increase and expand what those roles and what that work could look like so that we can better support students in those respective subpopulations. And so with those 3, looking forward to expanding that and having some conversations with some of our bilingual advisors who I didn't know left the district, but having conversations with them about what a return could look like to better support the work.
And I'm not only referring to Spanish, obviously. We have a multi-language district.
Yeah, when I say multilingual learners, I mean multilingual. We have students who know 5 to 7 different languages, Swahili, Arabic. So yes, sir.
Well, I have the mic. I want to restate, going back to the activity bus, I support the idea of after-school activity. My question to you is, I speak, for example, about Riverwood, which is one of the schools in my district, who pretty much doesn't have, doesn't have any activities after school, right? What are the plans, of allocating resources to a school that desperately wants it, but they don't have any activities, right? So out of these $14 million, how much money is going for transportation? How much money is going for people actually providing the services? Because the activities are just not going to appear at Riverwood and at other schools.
So right now the commitment for the after school is for middle and high schools. And so, as we work to expand our beta club and things that generally happen during the day for our elementary school students, we are also looking at intramurals. And so, with the YMCA, if we're able to lift that and expand that, we'll be able to do that for our younger students. But as we roll this out, the commitment is for middle and high school students, as that is where the greatest level of participation is right now. And then as we work throughout the day to expand participation, and participation looks different in our K-5 spaces, and so they will have an elevated opportunity as well to be more engaged. It just doesn't necessarily mean that they have to stay after school. Yes, sir? Good.
Commissioner Love?
I want to continue on the activity bus. Will all schools get to participate in that?
So right now, the commitment for the after-school bus is for middle and high schools. That's where our greatest level of participation is. That's where we need to see an increase in our participation in our middle grades as we think about the transitional stages of development for our students. So the commitment right now is for middle and high schools.
I have one school that is a K-8 school in E. Jeter. Will they be separated?
No, ma'am. So that it would be considered a middle school, and so we would provide the transportation there. I don't want the commissioners, let's not overthink. Right. There's nothing hidden in here. We're not excluding anyone, but we're also being very clear about where we are allocating the resources. So for this, it's expanding or adding a late bus for middle and high schools. Overall, what you saw in our commitment for early and after school programming, that $14 million, is a commitment to increasing the number of students who have access to early and after school activities in general.
Moving on from that.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed on the list of the vendors that you cut some of them, and the board voted on several of those. The board voted on them, and just to be clear, I'm asking you this. Can you cut what the board voted on?
Yes.
I would have been speaking out of turn, but I think that's the only person who, we approve contracts. The superintendent chooses to either bring those back for renewal, or I think every contract has maybe 30-day window typically that the superintendent can say that we're no longer engaging in this relationship. So I think it's how it's always worked, at least since I've been on the board, unless I would hope that the superintendent never brings a contract for me to no longer continues, because those would be very tough decisions for boards to make. But I don't recall us ever having to vote to deny a contract.
Just to be clear, what is the community engagement and the attendance specialist going to do in the schools? Because the only reason I asked this question is because I don't want them to service the same kids. Service the same kids for attendance and academic needs.
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking specifically, what will the family engagement liaisons do and what will the attendance agents do? And so right now, we already know which students have experienced chronic absenteeism, right? They've missed generally those 18 days out of the school year. That's a list that is already preset. Attendance agent. When we think about the family engagement liaison, that is straight families. Now you can't separate the two because obviously students are in a family, but that is supporting the needs and the resources that our families identify that will better support their transition, help them to advocate in a more consistent and ongoing manner. That is sometimes, participating in parent-teacher conferences with them. So that is supporting the families. And as Commissioner Calvo has lifted about our populations who are generally overlooked, that is where family engagement liaisons come. The goal, the vision is that every school should have an individual that Miss Green here, or Dr. Green here for A.B. Hill Elementary serves as that face, as that point of contact for families in that building. The vision is that there's an orientation that is held on day one, whatever the day one is for you as a new family, and certainly overall for the school. Here's where we are and here's how we can support. The vision is to work in tandem with, as we roll out our Legacy University for our parents, to really have those types of sessions that are beneficial for FAFSA, for supporting, students if you are a foster care parent. So the work there has to be very dedicated, and that's how our family engagement liaisons will support. However, there is a hub, it's an ecosystem, and so they will work collectively with the professional school counselor, the graduation coaches in our high schools, the truancy specialists where they are placed, and they will work with the dean of students, if you will, where they are placed. And so that is the hub, the ecosystem. Those individuals generally work together because, unfortunately, Commissioner Love, whereas you don't want them to serve, not in a negative way, to serve the same students, they are overlapping. They are sometimes the same students.
Final question. I want to work closely with the board and the administration on SPED students, getting them acclimated into the real world.
We don't turn away help. we will call you July 1st.
My speech therapist told me today that she has 5 adults that graduated from Memphis City schools.
Yes, ma'am.
And they don't have preparation for the real world.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
July 1st, on the other side of an approved budget, we'll give you a call.
Madam Chair, may I call for the vote on the budget, please?
8-4. I think Ms. McKissick.
That was my comment.
Okay, I want to let Vice Chair Coleman ask her question.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Superintendent, our seed department, the registration and attendance agents, what will they be doing now? Because I understand that they got a letter saying that they would no longer be in service for what they were doing. But they play a vital role in this, registering our children, making sure that our children are accounted for in school each day.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Coleman. I just want some clarity because there are a few different positions, and I don't say that to be condescending, but there are a few different positions. So are we speaking, which specific positions are we speaking of? There were about 25 that are across the district that are just in select schools that are helping or were deployed to support those schools with cleaning up their attendance. And then there are some they're still in seed, but then there are additional ones who were listed as like analysts, and then there are some more. So I just want to, I'm not trying to be funny, I just want to know, specifically which ones you are asking about, or if your greater question is, are we still going to be able to do the work in enrollment and attendance? And the answer to the latter question is yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm confident that we'll be able to. I'm more concerned about the attendance agents because they're vital to getting our attendance right because this is how we get paid. So a lot of times the school may not have somebody inside of the school that can do the attendance in a timely manner or get it correct. So
there were attendance specialists, if you will, that we moved to the school for that very reason that you're lifting. So they're just not seated and housed in central office.
So they will be inside of
Yes,
schools.
ma'am. For that very purpose. We know where the money comes from. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Calvo.
Yeah, before we take a vote, I want to acknowledge the hard work, but I am not ready to support the budget as presented for the following reasons. The budget process started too late. I know we started in November, but you didn't come until later. There is not enough accountability for me to present these things I know you keep saying that there's too much on the other side. I will come back to say the next is now for me. I need to see more accountability on these things. But the most important thing when I talk about accountability is that once we approve this budget, the next item on the agenda is that this body has to approve the termination of maybe 300, 400 people. I don't even know. As 2 minutes before we move into the budget, into the next item, I don't have a list of the next item that I have to vote on. In good conscience, I cannot approve a budget without knowing what is the next part, and it doesn't make any sense to me that we are terminating people that we are hiring as we speak. So I support the changes. I support that we have to do different things to get different results. However, it's the how we're doing this. And in a few weeks ago, my colleagues supported a resolution that was specifically asking for a plan, and I still haven't seen a plan. I see slides that I've been seeing for months, and they are fine, and I have gotten more clarification. But their main reason, again, is that as of now, I don't have a list of the next item that we have to vote on, and those two items are connected. We cannot approve a budget without understanding how many people are leaving, and we cannot approve a termination without approving a budget. Those two things are connected.
Commissioner Calvo, respectfully, I've given more in this budget process than that has been provided prior to me.
I wasn't here before.
I believe that you are looking at the list before you that is to be voted on. I have spent several hours having conversations with you to answer questions as well as other board commissioners. At this hour, Commissioner Calvo, I will reserve additional comments because I don't know how to respond to that, because I know that the team has provided more than a wealth of information in this budget to get a budget approved. This is not a strategic plan. This is not an 18-month or a 3 to 5 year plan. This is not the place where we put forth metrics. This is not where we say the who and the how. This is how we plan to do the work, and these are the financial resources that we are sharing, that we are proposing to be allocated to carry out the respective work. Respectfully, sir, I've gone over the list and broken down the numbers. The just over 1,100 positions include 551 vacancies. The 600 or plus that are left, of those, 226 of those, sir, are ESPs who were third-year permit teachers who did not meet the criteria set forth by the state. The others are the 70 proximity teachers who we just went through in terms of a request from 2 commissioners about the progress and the performance related to those respective classrooms. When we get down to the 463 or so that remain, we think about the more than 300 that are ESSER positions and that are grants that are ending. So I don't control that. So when we get down to about the 237 or so that remain, they would have had a placement, but as you've mentioned, the board did come together without your consent. So I'm very surprised that you did not consent for the resolution, but today you were sharing you are not prepared to vote for the budget. But during that consent for that resolution, what the board determined was, hey, let's pause and let's have the opportunity to ask some more questions. And we have done more than enough. We've answered the same questions a few times. We've gone in great detail, sir, that is below the line of governance, if you will, just to be transparent and to give the confidence to a board to vote for a $1.84 billion budget, because that is a lot of money, and it is your responsibility to ensure that fiscal responsibility and stewardship of the funds are being carried out and executed in a manner that you can be proud of and you can rest well as a board commissioner. And so I'm not sure about the additional questions that you have about the budget that I could answer, but that is what I can put forth for you today.
I'd like to jump in there. Commissioner Calvo, respectfully, you requested for us to flip-flop this discussion and move the budget approval before we talked about personal transactions. This has been one of the most robust budget cycles that I have experienced in my 6 years on the board. We've had numerous community meetings. We had a marathon, session, a meeting, I guess it was last month. So we're getting into some granular details right now regarding this budget, and I am definitely prepared to vote on this today because we have a school district to run, and we can't just say because we don't like this part or that part. We have to look at the whole big picture. So I'm asking my colleagues, we've asked the questions, the community has been great in asking the questions, and we have a job to do. We have, time is not going to stand still. July 1st is next week. It's June 25th. And so we've got to get this done. So I just want to state that for the record that I believe that, I certainly have been reading all the emails, this very exhaustive packet with all the FAQs of questions answered that have been sent out. So I think a lot of the answers might be in here if you need to go back and review it and for us to move ahead with the business of the board.
Okay, hold on.
I wanted to respond to the superintendent.
Yes, sir.
2 seconds. It is not below the line of governance to approve the next item because the law requires us to approve the massive layoff. Otherwise, I would not be asking that question. So it is the business of the board, and it is at the governance level to understand that. Is it true that for the 237 people that you mentioned, how many of those people do you anticipate will be rehired by the end of this week?
Sir, several of them are name changes or title changes. So our instructional coaches, those were our highly specialized reading advisors, our senior reading advisors, our instructional curriculum coaches. I can't remember all of the titles, but as you can see, that's too many titles for one position to do the same work. And so the logical thing to do was to change the title to instructional coach. Those individuals, we have 156 openings and 104 people. You understand that they can all have that role, and we still have 40-something folks that we would need to go chase to do this work. And so it really boils down to about 100 folks if we get down to it. But I wanted to be respectful of the transparency that we have to list every change that is taking place.
Superintendent, the resolution halted the termination of jobs, but it never stopped you from making job offers. You mentioned 4 or 5 assignments that you made in the last few days. So if there are people in this list that could already be, if they apply for another job and we could offer them that job, this list will be smaller today. That's what I'm asking.
The list remains, sir. They've received a warn letter because something changed. And so I have not placed anyone. The request of the board and the honor subsequently by the superintendent was to pause on the direct placements because it was quote unquote insulting. And so we did not place anyone, but they have applied for positions and we have honored the application process and provided subsequently the job offers that come along with the same.
Do you agree that out of the 240 people approximately, many of those will be rehired by the end of this week?
If they apply, I can't share that
But
they have the interest.
we have hiring blitz today, and you shared some of those numbers. So that.
And I gave you the internal numbers, and those numbers were generally higher than the external candidates.
So the answer is yes. The number will this list will decrease by the end of the week.
This list cannot decrease because there are changes, and so there are vacancies, there are changes to titles, and so the list does not change.
So we don't have I don't have the list. The list that I have has names on them.
The list does not change, sir, because these roles, as they exist today, will not exist on July 1st. The individuals in the roles have the opportunity to remain with the district in a different capacity.
May I ask General Counsel, the list that we are going to vote, does include vacancies or does only include the positions, the people that we are laying off?
So, thank you, Commissioner. So what the board has to approve is the dismissals. So the board doesn't need to, for instance, the board doesn't need to approve the reduction of vacant positions because there's nobody to be dismissed in those roles. So what the board would need to vote on is the positions that are being eliminated and the potential dismissal of the folks that fill those roles. Now, obviously, if somebody accepts a position subsequent to that vote, then they won't receive a dismissal notice or anything like that.
In good conscience, how can I vote for an item that I haven't seen? Have I seen the list? Do I have the list of the people that were about to vote? And I know that's the next item on the agenda, but it is attached and linked to this first item. We cannot dismiss people without approving the budget. So there are two together. So if I don't have the list, I have a list. I don't think it's the same list. I can only vote on the information that I have.
Commissioner Calvo, we're looking at the same list.
This mine has 370 names. How many does yours have?
Amber, I'm sorry, Amber, I didn't see your hand. Commissioner Calvo, I mean, if you're not finished talking, I don't want to be disrespectful. No,
I think I made my point. Let Commissioner.
yes, sir. I just want to make sure. Amber, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
No, that's okay. I want to thank my colleagues for asking a lot of questions about the bodies of work that a lot of these personnel were doing. Just getting clear because on what supports will look like in schools, and I felt really confident in what you shared, Dr. Fagan. So I appreciate all the thoughtfulness about streamlining the work. I think the hiring blitz that we had today, more than one person reached out to me saying how great it was to just be able to go in and know that you could get a job. Earlier in the week, asking me questions about jobs that were open. So I think it did, the thoughtfulness and the approach that we had here, I think has answered a lot of questions. And even my questions, my many questions are really, if I were in this position, I would want my school board members asking those same things, who have dedicated a lot of their career to the district. So we've done the right thing. We've done it together. I had one final question, and this is not contingent on my vote tonight, but I can't see a final budget. It's not in the documents. Did we represent any expansion of high dosage, low ratio tutoring in this particular budget we're voting on tonight?
So there's generally about a $7 million, over $7 million commitment to tutoring, and that's just right now. Okay. So yes, we have tutoring taken care of.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and then
and I am. I was just saying, Board Member McKissick, I'm ready to vote.
all right, I just had one question. I just let all of them go, so I've saved my question to last. If there is something in return, in regarding a program, and I think you answered most of my questions yesterday, but if there's something else, we can always come back, correct me, Superintendent and Tito, and say, hey, we need an amendment because we said we didn't realize we needed something. I'll just say, for example, Literacy Mid-South done an excellent job in 10 schools. We might decide, okay, we need to put them in 16 schools because we like the growth. So we are able to come back with those amendments, correct?
I won't speak to a specific vendor,
but I'm just saying,
but
for example,
overall, yes, ma'am, we can
okay,
come back and
that
do
was my
budget
question.
amendments.
All right, thank you. Motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great conversation. And first of all, thanks for your patience tonight, right? I just don't believe I would have been given the same amount of grace if I was asking those questions. I think I would have gotten quite a bit of side eye and you would have turned my mic off. But that being said, I know the parliamentarian will keep me on a timer. Madam Superintendent, I would like to take the personal privilege to do a couple things before I give prepared comments. Number one, 88.5, I want to acknowledge them. I know communications, you're big on communications. Regardless of what resolution we pass, you are big on communication, celebrating 50 years of doing great work. And they should be commended, and I'm hoping to see their work reflected in the budget. Madam Superintendent, Madam Chair, I also want to acknowledge those who have given many years of service. Mr. Calvo indicated that after passing the budget, this board is tasked with the tough decision of also approving a list of impacted employees, a list that will not change regardless of whatever budget amendments we make, because some impact will happen to those individuals. Employees like Marie, I think she wouldn't mind if we mentioned now Chief Stewart, who has a promotion, would be reflected on that list, but also it has been impacted. So we will also be voting on her name as well. So Madam Superintendent, I have spent many days with that list, and we'll be making a tough decision to support the budget. But I just wanted to pause and acknowledge those people that we may not see in July. Thank you for your service. Now a little history lesson, Madam Superintendent. When we passed our budget in 2019, we had 12,857 positions. That was a year before COVID. That was the year that I publicly stated that I would not be running for re-election. We then had COVID, and for those who may have wanted to run, those who are now running in District 4, who can now reclaim this seat, I said I wasn't running because, this torch should be passed, but I was expecting things like massive layoffs and funding cuts. In addition, but we didn't see that, right, Mr. CFO? Instead, the district was flushed with about an additional $1 billion in resources. And so last year we passed a budget that had 14,505 positions, almost 2,000 positions added over the last 5 budget cycles. Now, that's not all bad news, Madam Superintendent. This district and the past superintendents and this board likely played a vital role in stabilizing the local economy. They kept families employed, restaurants open, and kids in college. As many of these dollars prepare to sunset, we must prepare for a new day under a new administration. While the board asked for a pause that I agreed with, the superintendent has remained steadfast in her position and even publicly stated that while we could have messaged better, she remains committed to doing this tough work. Be it closing of schools, voting on a new superintendent, and now possibly approving a budget that pushes resources closer to classrooms, all of these things require hard decisions that could potentially negatively impact people you love. But Madam Superintendent, according to Kirby Smart, a head coach that beat Alabama to win his first national championship, no shade, he said that making tough decisions is one of the heaviest costs of leadership. That's why I plan to vote yes on this budget and encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Roll call vote.
Commissioner McKissick?
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt Garcia?
Aye.
Commissioner Woods?
Aye.
Commissioner Love?
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman? Aye. Commissioner Calvo?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams? Board Chair Green?
Aye.
You have 8 votes in the affirmative, 1 vote in the negative.
Thank you. That motion passes. Thank you. Teachers will get raised. Thank you. Resources will be in classrooms. Thank you. We will continue to do more to move that academic needle. Thank you. And now on to the next item.
Good job, Dr. Fagan. Pass your first budget.
Motion to approve the personnel transaction.
Second.
Roll call.
Chief Worrells. Just let her catch up.
Commissioner McKissick?
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt Garcia?
Aye.
Commissioner Woods?
Aye.
Commissioner Love?
Could you please show the list? Thank you.
Pass.
Commissioner Coleman? Commissioner Calvo?
No.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Board Chair Green?
I'm going to hesitate for 1 second just to say, no, I'm good. I do care about people. I care that these people will have jobs, and I'm going to trust Dr. Fagan and hold her to these hiring fairs and making sure, as I look out in the audience, that these people will get jobs. Aye.
Commissioner Love?
Aye. Reluctantly, aye.
You have 8 votes in the affirmative, 1 vote in the negative.
Thank you. That motion passes. Just before I adjourn tonight, I always appreciate those people who watch us on live. Thank you. I just want to shout out a special person who made it a point to text me and to correct and say there are 10 million students nationwide using IT. Y'all have a great evening. Enjoy it. Did you understand what I said?